Hello guys, welcome back to the VDC space. Today we're going to be doing typical parapets for bridges in Revit. We're just going to model like three types of parapets. Actually, one of them is going to be a barrier and then two of them is going to be parapets. So I'm going to start with the easiest one, which is the barrier. And then the other two are going to be two parapets. So they're going to be much more complicated in terms of the geometry. Before I get started, I would like to ask you guys to please subscribe to the channel if you are new. If you're already subscribed, hit the notification button as I upload BIM modeling tutorials and Revit tutorials 3 times every week. I cover different topics from wastewater, buildings, roads and networks, bridges, and so on. Now, without further ado, let's jump into Revit. So here we are in Revit 24. So I just opened up a new construction template because we're gonna load in our parapets inside this workspace. So the first for the barrier, we're gonna use the new family. So we're gonna open up the new metric structural framing beams and braces template. And then I'm just going to remove this extrusion that comes with the family, and then this reference line, and then these extra reference planes. So we're just going to work with three reference planes, and then this is the length of our, basically our barrier or parapet. So we're going to go to the left elevation in order for us to model our profile. And then we're going to set up our references, our reference planes in order for us to be guided in terms of the dimensions. So I'm going to go to create and say reference plane. And then for this one, we're going to use this as our insertion point. So I'm going to offset this one by 115 millimeters. So it's going to be 115 from there. And then I'm just going to select this one, and then I'm going to copy it further by 180 millimeters, and then by a further 520 millimeters. And then I'm just going to leave it like that. So I'm going to go to the left side and then go to create and say reference plane again, and then place another reference plane like this at the height of 815 millimeters. So I'm going to select it and then copy it down by 35 millimeters. And then I think I'm going to leave it just like that. And then I'm going to say create again and say reference plane. And then I'm going to offset another one by 195 millimeters from the reference plane. And then I'm going to place it like this. So I'm just going to place dimensions right there, and then place another dimension like this. So I'm gonna leave it like that. And then also this side, I'm just gonna place dimensions like that. Now we're gonna place our horizontal reference planes. So I'm gonna go to reference plane again. And then for this one, I'm gonna offset it by 200 millimeters from the middle reference plane. And then I'm gonna select it. And let me just adjust this. I'm just gonna place it like that. So from there, I'm gonna say copy, and then copy it to the right by another 55 millimeters, and then copy it further by 125 millimeters. Perfect. And then I'm gonna select my reference plane again, and then I'm gonna offset another one by 125 millimeters from the middle reference plane and just place it like this. And then I'm gonna make these two intersect, because this is where our this is where the opening for the UPVC service duct is gonna be running at. So we're gonna place a hole right in the middle of our barrier or our parapet. So we have our reference planes. I hope you guys set it up like this, and we're gonna model our geometry now. So you're gonna go to create and say extrusion, set your reference plane to left, and then you're gonna say okay. From this point, actually I forgot to place another reference plane, so I'm gonna go to create again and say reference plane, and then this one I'm gonna offset it by 380 millimeters, and then I'm gonna offset it like this. So it's going to be placed like that. I think that's fine. So we're going to go to create again extrusion, set my reference to reference plane left, and say okay. And then I'm going to place the width of my base like this, the width of my base like that, and then I'm gonna take it upwards by 115 millimeters, and then diagonally I'm gonna place it. So let me just, yes, I'm gonna place it right on this insertion point, and then I'm gonna take it further diagonally towards this insertion point right at the top, and then I'm gonna bring it diagonally to the left towards this point, and then I'm gonna take it down by the total of 815 what is it? It's 780 millimeters. So this is basically your profile. Now the only thing left is you're gonna have to set up our chamfers on these 2 points. So our chamfers are going to be 25 millimeters for all of them. So just make sure this line, to set up your chamfers, you can set up your temporary lines. Just make sure this line is parallel to this one, and then make sure it's offset 25 millimeters from this line. So I'm gonna say 25, and then I'm gonna place another one which is perpendicular to that one. As you can see, it's highlighted when it's perpendicular, and then I'm gonna set the offset to 25 millimeters, and then I'm just gonna connect them like this. Remove this one and say trim and extend, and then trim and extend. And then I'm going to apply the same logic this side. So I'm going to place this one like this, and then this one like that. Then make sure this one is offset 25 millimeters, and then this one also it's offset 25 millimeters. And then I'm just going to select this one, rotate it like this, and then place it like that. Remove this one and say trim and extend, and then trim and extend. So this is basically our barrier. Now the only thing left is you're going to select your circle, and then remember from this offset 195 and then this one of 125, you're going to place your circle right in the middle of this point, and then your radius is going to be 55 millimeters, which means the total diameter of the hole where your PVC service duct is going to be running is going to be 110 millimeters in diameter. So it's going to be set up like this. And then I'm going to say finish edit mode, go to reference level, and then I'm going to drag my extrusion towards this reference plane and then lock it in order for you to control its length. And then you're going to let me just say undo, select it, and then you're going to drag it towards also this reference plane, and then you're going to lock it. Open up the 3D view, and then this is basically what we have. So I'm going to set this to realistic, select it, and then go to material, and then I'm going to set it as precast concrete, and then I'm going to say okay. So this is basically what we have. Now the next thing is you're going to have to add chamfers on the edges of this barrier or this parapet. So in order for us to do that, you're going to go to the left elevation. So on your left elevation, you're going to go to create and say void extrusion. And then you're going to drop down, go to void sweep. And then on your void sweep, you're going to set up your path. So you're going to go to sketch path, set your reference to reference plane left and say OK. And then you're going to draw it from this point. Just make sure, let me just place it like this and press escape. Just make sure this reference line which indicates how you will apply your profile is facing downwards, and it's also facing like this on your profile. So you're going to draw your path by tracing over the edges of your barrier like this, and then you're going to place it like that. Now you're going to say finish edit mode and say go to edit profile, and then go to floor plan or reference level and say open view. And then on your open view, you're going to set up your void extrusion profile. So you're going to take it from this point, you're going to bring it down by 25 millimeters, and then it's going to be 25 millimeters on both sides. Now you have added your chamfer. So it's going to cut down your geometry and then apply the chamfer. So gonna say finish edit mode, go to 3D view and say finish edit mode, and this is what it applied on your solid. So this is what we have. Now you can just say select your void, go to reference level and say pick mirror, and then you're gonna mirror it towards the other side. Then just make sure your void is also locked towards the reference line, so that when you adjust the length of your parapet or your barrier, the void also goes along with your solid, if that makes sense. So yeah, this is what we have. I'm just gonna load it into our project. I'm not gonna save this. I already did save it, and now I will upload it on my Patreon if you are looking for these families. So we're gonna place it like this. So I'm gonna make it 3000 millimeters. Go to the 3D view, and this is basically what we have. So I'm just gonna change this to realistic, and this is basically our bridge barrier. Now let's take it to level two. So for level two, model another bridge parapet. So you're gonna go to family, and then we're gonna use the metric structural framing beams and braces again, and say open. So I consider this level two because the geometry becomes a little more tricky. So I'm just gonna say I'm gonna remove the extrusion that comes with the family and the reference planes and these reference lines. So I'm gonna say now we're gonna follow the same logic. So you're gonna go to the left elevation and just drag this reference line, the bottom reference line like this, just to make things more organized. So you're gonna place it like that. Now for this one, we're still gonna use this as our insertion point, and then we're gonna go to create and say reference plane. So we're gonna start by going down first. Actually, we're gonna go up. So you're gonna set up your offset by 95 millimeters. So you're gonna place it like this. And then from there, you're gonna select your reference plane, say copy, and then you're gonna copy it upwards by 180 millimeters. And then from there, you're gonna take it by 1320 millimeters, and this is basically, yeah, what we have. Now this side also, you're gonna go to create and then say reference plane, and then you're gonna place another one like this, then select it and say copy, and then you're gonna copy it down by 30 millimeters, and then you're gonna copy it further down by 850 millimeters, and then by 20 millimeters, and then by 550 millimeters, and then by 20 again, and then another 410, and then you're gonna say another 20 millimeters and say enter. Perfect. And now you're gonna say create, and then you're gonna say reference plane again, and then you're gonna place another one like this. So you're gonna select this one. So this one, from there you're gonna say copy, and then you're gonna copy it upwards by, let's say, 305 millimeters, and say enter. So it's gonna be placed right on your reference plane. So I'm just gonna say undo. Now it's time to set up our vertical one. So you're gonna go to create and say reference plane, and then we're gonna start from the bottom, and then from the bottom you're just gonna offset this one by 135 millimeters, and then you're gonna go upwards, and then go to create again reference plane, and then you're gonna place another one like this, but this one you're gonna offset it by, let's say, so this one is gonna be plus 135 plus 340. So you're gonna press enter. So it's gonna be 475. I think that's fine. And then you're gonna go upwards, go to create again and say reference plane, and then place another one like this, and then you're gonna select it and then adjust the offset. So this one you're gonna make it 210, and then you're gonna copy to the right by 140, and then from there you're gonna copy another one by 125. So you can just drag these reference plane until it meets this one that's horizontal. So you're gonna place them like this. Perfect. So this is how your reference planes should be set up. Now you're gonna go to create and say extrusion. and then you're going to set your reference to reference plane left. Now you're going to start on this insertion point, this one, and then you're going to take it to the right by 340 millimeters, upwards by 95 millimeters, diagonally towards this point, and then further diagonally to upwards towards this point, and then you're going to bring it diagonally to the left towards this insertion point, and then you're going to bring it all, actually not all the way down, you're going to bring it right on this point, and then you're going to take it diagonally until this reference plane is highlighted at 45 degrees, and then you're going to bring it down like this towards this until this reference plane is highlighted, and then you're going to bring it down at 45 degrees towards this point, and then you're going to take it further down towards this point, and then diagonally for that chamfer towards this point, and then you're going to place it like this. So let me just offset the let me just offset this one by, so it's going to be 20, and then place it like this. Let's say trim and extend for the chamfer, and then I'm going to select it, and then it's going to be set up like this. So this is basically your profile for our second bridge parapet. Now it's time to add chamfers at the top. So we're going to apply the same logic. You're going to place it like this, make sure it's parallel to this. So I'm going to select it, make sure it's the 25 millimeter offset, and just see this 25. Okay, I'm gonna select this one also, make sure it's parallel to this. So I'm gonna make, so it's 25 millimeters, and then I'm just gonna rotate this and then remove this and say trim and extend, trim and extend. And then I'm so this side I think I'm gonna leave it, actually, yeah, I think I'm gonna leave it like this. So yeah, I think I'm gonna leave it like that. So the next thing we have to apply is that hole for that PVC service duct. In order for us to do that, we're gonna have to apply our offset. So I'm gonna say reference plane and then set my offset to 175 millimeters, and then from there I'm gonna place my reference plane, and then I'm gonna set up my other reference horizontally, vertically I mean, which is set at 155 millimeters, and then I'm gonna place it like that. Now this is where they meet, so I'm going to select my circle and then place it like that. Make sure my radius is set to 55 millimeters, and then I'm going to say finish edit mode. Go to the reference level and then drag your parapet towards this reference plane, lock it, and then drag it towards this reference plane, and then lock it again. Open up the sorry, I went to my project. So I'm gonna open up the 3D view, and this is how it looks. Now I'm gonna select this, go to material, and then I'm gonna apply the same precast concrete and just change the level of detail, and then change the view graphics, and then this is what it looks like. So we have our chamfers there, and then so the last thing is, of course, is we have to add our chamfers on the edge of our, on the left and the right edge of our parapet. So I'm gonna go to the back to the left elevation, and then I'm gonna go to create and say void extrusion, void sweep, and then sketch path, and then I'm gonna set my reference to reference plane left and say okay. And then from this point, I'm gonna take it from this point because I want to see my profile when I'm on the reference level. So, and then I'm just gonna trace over the edges of our parapet. So it's gonna be set up like this. Perfect. Now I'm gonna say finish edit mode, go to edit profile, go to floor plan, reference level, and then this is what we have. Now you're gonna apply your chamfer, so it's gonna be 25. Actually, this one I can make it, I'm gonna make it 20 millimeters. And then I'm gonna place it diagonally like this, and then it's gonna be set up like this. Go to finish and say finish edit mode, go to a 3D view, and this is basically what it looks like. Now, I'm going to select this void extrusion, go to reference level, and then I'm going to mirror it, go to mirror pick axis, and then I'm going to select this mirror reference plane, and then it's going to be set up like this. Now, the last thing is go to the reference level. You're going to lock this void against the reference plane so that it may move with the solid extrusion when you extend its length. So I'm going to say load into project. I'm not going to save this, load into project and close. And then I'm just going to place it like this. So the length is going to be, I'm going to make this one 4000 millimeters. Press enter, go to the 3D view, and this is how it looks. Now, I told you guys about the sensitivity when it comes to void extrusions and how they can distort your geometry. It seems, and this is what happens. So, in order for you to mitigate this problem, you have to go back to your family and check whether your extrusions are locked against your reference plane. So, I'm going to go back to the reference level. Select AL or align for align. So I'm just going to align it like this. So I'm just going to make sure the face of my void is aligned against the reference planes. I think this side also. Just say undo. AL. Okay, let's go to loading. Say override existing version. So it's still not solved. So I'm going to select it, go to edit, and then go to reference level. So on my reference level, I'm gonna have to just make sure also your void extrusions are locked against your solid geometry. Okay, so let's see, load into project, override existing version. Still doesn't work if I change this to 3000. And if I change this to 3000, it does work because that extrusion is set up for 3000 millimeter parapet. So I think if you go back to your family, just make sure you can actually set up extra reference planes where the void extrusion and your solid extrusion intersect, and then you can lock the back of your void against this reference plane so that it may also move with the solid object. So you can go to reference plane and then place it like that. Then you're just gonna drag this up, alignment, and then I'm just gonna align it like this. Perfect. And now I'm gonna say load into project. Then I'm not gonna save this. Override the existing versions. So let me take this to 4000 millimeters. It seems like that void still doesn't work. Well, I'm just gonna do it manually. Let me go to edit family. So reference level, instead of me mirror doing the mirror option, I'm just gonna model it. So I'm gonna go to the right elevation. Let me change this to hidden line, and then go to create void forms, void sweep, sketch path, set my reference to right, say okay, then I'm just gonna place it like that. Say pick lines just to do things more faster. Say finish edit mode, edit profile, go to floor plan, and then it's gonna be 20. and say finish edit mode, and then I'm just gonna align this. Perfect. Now load into project and close. I'm gonna say no. Say override the existing version and its parameters. Now it's fixed. So doing the mirror option also becomes tricky when it comes to void extrusions. But let's just go on. Now we're gonna take it to the next level. So level 3, I would consider it one of the hardest parapets you can model and one of the trickiest in terms of the geometry. So you're gonna go to File and say New, Family, and then we're going to use the metric structural framing beams and braces again. And then for this one, you're going to move this extrusion and then remove this reference line and then this extra reference plane. And then you're going to set up your profile, you're going to go to the left elevation and then you're just going to extend this. And let me just extend this. So from there, we're going to start on the right again. We're going to go to create and say reference plane. And then you're going to set up your first reference plane like this. So this one, you're going to offset it by, so it's going to be 95, press enter. And then you're going to copy another one upwards by 180 millimeters, another one by 370 millimeters. And then you're going to stop from there. You're going to go to the left hand side and then you're going to say reference plane and then you're going to place another one like this. Select it and then copy it down by, so you're going to copy this one down by 50 millimeters and then you're going to copy another one by 130 millimeters, press enter, and then 20 millimeters, press enter, and then 300, enter, and then 20 again, enter, and then you're going to say 410 millimeters, enter, and then another one by 20 millimeters, press enter, and then you're going to stop there. And then you're going to go to create again and say reference plane, place another one like this, and then this one you're going to select it also and say copy, and then you're going to copy it by, so it's going to be 305, so it's going to be set there. Let's just measure. So this is 305. I think that's fine. Perfect. Now we're going to model our geometry. So this one, it's going to be consisting of two parts, and so I'll show you guys how it looks actually. Let me just go to create and say reference plane again. We have to set up our vertical ones. So from this point, you're gonna set up another one by, let's just make it 20. So it's gonna be 20 millimeters, and then you're gonna copy it to the right by 240 millimeters. And then you're gonna copy another one by 50 millimeters, and then another one by 40, and then another one by 125 millimeters. Perfect. Let me just place dimensions so that I don't get lost. So I'm just gonna place them like this. Perfect. Now from this, remember this is our original insertion point. So I'm gonna go to create and say extrusion, set my reference to reference plane left and say okay. So I'm gonna start on this point actually, and then I'm gonna take it to the right by 200 and actually I forgot to model another one, so let me just exit there, go to create again, reference plane. I'm gonna place another one like this, and then let me just drag these ones towards this horizontal reference plane like this. So this one I'm gonna place it like that, and then it's gonna be offset from this this original metal reference plane by actually I'm going to drop this one. Let me just measure this one. So this one, okay, this one is going to be offset from here by 135 millimeters. And then I'm going to copy another one by further 340 millimeters, and then it's going to be set up like this. So yeah, basically this is what we have. Now I'm going to go to create and say extrusion, set my reference plane to reference plane left and say OK. And then I'm going to start on this insertion point, take it to the right by 340, upwards by 95 millimeters, diagonally towards this point. So, and then further diagonally towards this let me just, is it this point? I think, yeah, I think it's this one, yes. And then I'm gonna take it diagonally to the left towards this insertion point, and then I'm gonna take it downwards by towards this point, and then add that chamfer, and then I'm gonna place it like this. So I'm gonna add another chamfer this side at 20 millimeters and then place it like that. And I'm just gonna adjust this one. And then I'm gonna further model my parapet and then join it like this. So this is basically the geometry that we have for the bottom part of our parapet. So the next thing is we're gonna have to add chamfers towards this. Go to your line again. You're gonna add a diagonal one, as you can see, like this, and then you're gonna take it downwards like this, and then you're gonna place it like that. Now, as you can see, we have to slice this line. Press SL on your keyboard for slice, and then you can just slice your lines like this. Then you can just remove this line, then adjust this one. Now you have your chamfer on the back side of your parapet. Now we're gonna have to add another ones right at the top, this part and also on this part. So we're gonna apply the same logic we did as the previous one. So you're gonna place it like that, and then offset this one by, let's make it 20 millimeters, and also this one this side we're gonna offset it by 20 millimeters. And then I'm just gonna rotate this and then place it like that, say trim and extend, and then trim and extend. And also this one, we're gonna place it like this. Then I'm gonna place another one like this. So this one, we're gonna offset it by 20 millimeters. And also this one, we're gonna offset it by 20 millimeters. Just gonna rotate it and then join it like this. Remove this one, go to trim and extend, and then trim and extend. So basically, this is what we have. Now, the last thing is our hole for the UPVC service duct. So you're going to go to create and say reference plane again. So at the bottom, we're going to offset it by 175 millimeter for horizontal one. So it's going to be placed like that. For the vertical one, it's going to be 155 millimeters. So from this reference plane, it's going to be offset like that. Now, they intersect there. You're going to place your circle, and then it's going to be 55,000 millimeters in radius, and say finish edit mode. Go to the reference level, and then you're going to join your extrusion towards this reference plane, and then lock it, and then you're going to join it on the other side and also lock it. Open up the 3D view, and this is what we have so far. So you're going to select this one, go to material, and then you're going to make it precast concrete. Just change this to realistic and fine, and this is what we have so far. Now you're gonna go back to your left elevation. Now we're gonna have to add our two supports which will support the top part of our parapet. So let me just remove these dimensions. So from this point you're gonna copy another reference plane upwards by, let's make it 180 millimeters, and you're gonna copy it further by, okay, I'm just gonna say create and say a reference plane. I'm gonna place another one on this side, and then this one I'm gonna say copy, and then copy it by further 30 degrees, So it's going to be 30 degrees. Perfect. I think that's fine. So the next thing is which one are we going to use? So we're going to use this one. So I'm just going to drag it towards the top like this. And then this one also, I'm just going to drag it towards the top like this. Perfect. Now I'm going to say create and say extrusion, and then go to I'm gonna set my reference to reference plane left and say OK. And then I'm just gonna place it. I'm just gonna place it like this until towards the this top reference plane, and then bring it diagonally downwards towards this one. And then I'm just gonna place it like this. Perfect. So this is how our profile looks. I'm gonna say finish edit mode and then go to the front elevation. So on my front elevation, I'm just gonna drag my extrusion towards this point, and then I'm gonna place two dimensions on each side like this, and then press tab to highlight only this side, and then I'm gonna offset it this by 500 from the middle reference plane, and then this side also I'm gonna offset it by 500 millimeters. So it's gonna be set like this. Just remove this, and this is basically how it looks. Now in order for me to change its material, I'm just gonna say join, select this extrusion, and then I'm just gonna join them like this. Select this extrusion, go to reference level and say mirror pick axis, and then I'm going to pick my mirror, and then it's going to be mirrored towards the other side. So the next thing is we're going to have to add chamfers towards these two components. So I'm going to go to the left elevation, say create and say void forms, go to void sweep and say sketch path, set my reference to reference plane left and say OK. And then I'm going to place my path like this. So it's gonna be I'm gonna use my extrusion as my reference just to trace over everything. So I'm gonna say finish edit mode and say edit profile, go to the floor plan. Now on the floor plan, I can see what's going on. So I'm gonna add my chamfer, which is gonna be based at 20 millimeters, and then I'm just gonna place it like this and say finish edit mode, finish edit mode, and this is basically how it looks. But I don't think it makes sense at the bottom to be like that. So I'm just gonna say select my sweep again, go to edit, select my path, sketch path, and then I'm gonna remove the bottom line and say finish edit mode. Now it's gonna be set up like this. I think that's fine. And then I'm gonna select my sweep, my void sweep, and then I'm just gonna mirror it towards the other side, and then I'm just gonna move it like this, and then make sure the face of your void it's gonna be based on the face of your solid. So when you go to the 3D view, this is what we have. Now go to the front elevation, select those two void sweeps, and then you're gonna copy them towards this solid form. And let's see if it takes precedence on our solid form. So let's say cut. Let me just go to the front elevation, and I'm just gonna say undo. So I'm gonna copy it one by one. So I'm gonna start with this one, then I'm gonna copy it like this. So it's gonna be paste like that, and then I'm gonna select this one, say copy, and then I'm gonna copy it like this. Let's go to the 3D view. Uh, seems like our extrusions, let me just say undo copy. So I'm just gonna, let me just go to the right elevation and then just throw it manually instead of copying, because working with extrusions can become tricky. So I'm gonna go to create again, void forms, void sweep, and say sketch path, and then set my reference to reference plane right, and then I'm just gonna place it like this. Go to finish edit mode, edit profile, and then go to floor plan reference level. Then I'm just gonna set up my reference, set up my profile right there. So it's gonna be 20 millimeter chamfer. Say finish edit mode, go to the 3D view, and this is how it looks. Then I'm gonna select it, go to the front elevation, then I'm gonna mirror it towards the other side. Sorry about that. Seems like my Revit crashed. So what I was saying is then you can select this void extrusion and then go to the front elevation while it's still selected, and then you can just mirror it towards the other side. Go to the 3D view and just select your extrusion, and then make sure the face of the face of your extrusion is going to be set on the face of this solid form. So when you open up the 3D view, this is basically what you have. Perfect. Now we are almost there. Now it's time to model the top part of our parapet. So in order for us to do that, you're gonna go back to the left elevation. So on your left elevation, you're gonna say uh, so let me just select this. Okay, this is from the family I saved. And so you're gonna select this reference plane, and then make sure you offset it upwards by 240 millimeters, and then another one by 30 millimeters. So this is what we have. Now you're gonna go to create and say extrusion, set your reference to left, and then you're gonna draw your extrusion from this point towards this point, and then from this point, and then diagonally upwards to the right towards this point, and then you're gonna bring it down like this. So actually it's gonna be diagonal from this point. So I'm gonna go to create, and then how you set up your vertical reference plane is the correct way. So for this family I didn't set up all of them, so I'm just from this point it's gonna be offset by, I think it's 30, so I think 30 is fine. So I'm just gonna place it like this, and then this one is going to be set up like this. Perfect. Now this is what we have. Now obviously we're going to have to set up our for the chamfers. You're going to set up your chamfers at 20 millimeters. Make sure they are parallel on both sides. So I'm going to offset this one by 20 and also this one by 20, and then I'm just going to rotate this one and then place it like this. Remove this one, trim and extend, and yeah, that's what we have. Now this one also we're gonna have to apply it, so I'm just gonna place it like this, and then this one I'm gonna place it like that, then offset it by 20, this one by 20, then I'm just gonna bring it diagonally like this, trim and extend, and then trim and extend, and then I'm gonna place another one like this, and then another one like that, and say I'm gonna offset it by 20. So this one also is gonna be let me just say pick lines and then offset by 20. Then I'm just gonna rotate this one and then place it like that. Remove this one, say trim and extend, and say trim and extend. And also this side I'm gonna place another one, so it's gonna be set up like this. Also this one like this, so it's gonna be 20. This one also is gonna be 20. Then I'm just gonna place it like this. Then remove this one, trim and extend, and say finish edit mode. Go to the reference level, and then you're gonna drag it full length towards this reference plane, lock it, and then drag this one this side, and then lock it. And then when you open up the 3D view, this is basically how it looks. Now you're gonna say join just to change its material, so you're gonna join it like this. Now this is how it looks. Perfect. Now the last step is we're gonna have to add chamfers on the face, on the side profiles of these members. So we're gonna follow the same logic we did throughout the video, throughout the tutorial. Now we're gonna start on the left hand side and say create and say void extrusion, and then say void sweep, and then go to sketch path, set your reference to reference plane left, and then you're going to place it from this point, and then you can just say pick lines just to do things faster. So you're going to set it up like this. Then you can say finish, edit profile, go to your floor plan, and then you're gonna say it's gonna be 20 millimeters, and then say finish edit mode, and then it's gonna be set up like this. Select it, go to the front elevation while it's still selected, and then mirror it towards the other side. Go to the 3D view, and this is what we have. So it took precedence on that solid form. We're gonna do the same logic on the top part of our parapet. So you're gonna go to the left elevation and say create void forms, void sweep, sketch path, and then set your reference to reference plane left, and then you're gonna place it like this. So you can just say pick lines just to do things faster. Then you're gonna place it like this and say finish edit mode, edit profile, open up the floor plan, and then you can set up your chamfer at 20 millimeter on both sides, and then you can just say finish edit mode, open up the 3D view, and this is what we have. Now you can go to the front elevation, select your chamfer and say mirror pick axis, and then it's going to be mirrored towards the other side. So it took precedence on that solid form. So this is the hardest parapet we had to model. So this is how it looks. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. So I'm just gonna load it into our project. So it's let me just make it 3000 millimeters, open up the 3D view, and this is how it looks. So these are our three bridge parapets we just produced. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this tutorial. I apologize that my Revit crashed. So I hope you guys have enjoyed it and learned something, and I will see you on the next tutorial. I hope you guys have liked and subscribed also. And if you want these files, just head to my Patreon. It's completely free. You don't have to go with the premium option, because I'm still working on that side of things. So yeah, I think you guys can find it more valuable if you can just interrogate the families when you download it from my Patreon. I'll see you guys on the next tutorial, and I hope you learned something today. Peace.